Welcome to the Almost Punk Enough podcast, brought to you by that'sgoodenough.for me.com. My name is Daniel, and I go by the pen name Rizchex. The hardcore street punk band The Casualties released their first new album in 8 years back in March, and they are in the middle of a several-month tour across North America and Europe. The new album is called Detonate, and it's out now on Hellcat Records. On this episode, we are joined by longtime member, guitarist, backing vocalist, Jake Casualty Kolatis. We talk about the tour, break down some of the songs on the new album, and the recording process. So let's get into it.
Yeah, you're punk enough. Well, yeah, that's good enough for me.
All right, today we're lucky enough to be joined by Jake Casualty from the band The Casualties. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I see you're on like a gigantic nonstop worldwide tour, and I know today is your day off, so I appreciate you taking some time out. I saw you guys were in Canada for a while with the Rum Kicks, who sounds like they unfortunately did not get their visas. They got denied, so they're not going to be joining you on the U.S. part. But the Drowns have stepped up, and they're going to be, from what I understand, filling in and backing you guys up for the rest of the U.S. leg of the tour.
Yeah, and both are great bands. It's unfortunate we couldn't have the Rum Kicks, but I think the current state of the United States border and stuff, how strict things are right now, and for the most part, it seems a little arbitrary to me to not let some artists in to entertain, and then things like that. But it's just where we're at right now. So the roll with the punches, but we were more than happy to have them rock with us in Canada. And those shows were great. I mean, what a good band, all the way from, Southern Korea. It's amazing, And then we have, like you said, the Drowns, and they were like direct support now, and they're a fantastic band. And it's cool because the two bands are a good contrast as well within the wheels of the punk house. But like, they both bands have a cool different sound. So I would feel that the shows would be a little less dull than being hit with one style of music of punk the whole time,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and good dudes, we all help each other load in and load out, and I got to hats off to them because they started helping us before we helped them. So now we were like, shit, we better help them too. It's funny.
So the tour's been going good. You were, I think you just came into the U.S. now. Did you get some Vermont syrup while you're there?
Dude, I did. I spent like $100 on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when and of course I got like the tourist price because we were just at some like the syrups, and it had it'll have like the so naturally, but it's all Christmas gifts anyway.
Yeah. But the tour has been going good so far. The Canada
tour's been going fantastic. Canada was like better attendance than we've had in years, and I think a lot of that is due to having a new album out. And I think there's a lot of things happening right now, especially with the rise in AI and fake music and fake experiences, and everything's so goddamn fake out there that I think people were like, I want to go see a real fucking band. And, that's where, like the experience of seeing a Casualty show, you kind of, you go to a show that we're playing and you're going to be part of the show. You know what I mean? That's just the energy of it. And our fans are usually like, we do a lot of crowd participation. So it's like, you're welcome to sing with us. You're welcome to stage dive. There's no like, we try to like, we've always kind of, not had that line between fan, within reason, like, we like crowd participation, and like, so, it's, I think in the days of, touchless this, and you don't look at anyone that, and make sure you have 5 different forms of identification, and make sure like you're, it's like fucking A, man. So sometimes people just want to go to a show and pogo
Mm-hmm.
and have some human interaction. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be where they just make it so people don't have to deal with people on any level, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of bums me out. So rock and roll shows, punk shows, metal shows can kind of still have a great degree of that, without it being like, there's camaraderie, and that should be preserved in the tradition of shows and things like that. It shouldn't be that nobody talks to each other and it's just all these things, all these rules and regulations of like, how people don't interact with each other anymore. And
Yeah.
so hopefully the shows can still preserve some of that before we're an entire society, which is going that direction anyway, of people
Yeah.
not interacting with each other. And it's just weird. That's not normal, especially for the human race.
Yeah. It's going to be all digital shows one day.
Yeah, like
Unfortunately.
fuck that.
Yeah.
God, I hope I'm long
Yeah.
since gone, my friend.
Yeah. I've seen a few clips. It looks like the shows have been just like you said, like everybody participating, everybody getting into it. I even saw you guys honored Cassie from the Venomous Pinks
Yes, of
on
course.
stage.
Yeah.
That was very cool. Have you played with the Venomous Pinks before? Do you have a
Yeah,
relationship with them?
yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did a whole like tour together,
Okay.
and so it was like I believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think it was Strung Out, the Casualties, and Venomous Pinks.
Okay. All right.
But we did a lot of shows with them, and we got to know them very well, and so of course it's like it just makes things real when someone kind of
Mhm.
goes through that struggle and they lose their battle with that, and it's kind of like, whoa, I was just hanging out with that person and
Mhm.
they were like good people, and it just sucks. It's a dose of reality that I don't know like to get.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I'd never like to get.
Yeah.
Tell you the truth. you know
Yeah.
so
yeah, some of the other bands I see you
but
playing with, like at select rounds, you got like the Adolescents, Swinging Utters, the Last Gang. Are these all some bands you played with before? Or is there some new ones that you're adding on?
yeah, over the years, we've had shows with the Adolescents. So they're good friends, and that was another sad moment when Steve Soto passed.
Mm-hmm.
But we're tight with those guys. And the Last Gang and stuff. Like we really these are bands we've played with and probably will continue to do shows with in the next coming years too. So I'm excited to play with some bands coming up in like Europe. But as far as
Mm-hmm.
this tour, most of them I know, and then I'll try to check out some of the local openers
Mm-hmm.
sometimes because
Mm-hmm.
then I don't always know them,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's kind of cool to see like, oh yeah, cool, like who's this band? Like the other day, it was Disqualified and the Disqualified, I believe, and they were
Okay.
pretty cool.
Where were they from?
I believe it was Vermont.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I think you're going to Boston and then Brooklyn next. Is there some certain stops you're looking forward to the most, or haven't been to, or really excited to return to?
Yeah, I do like I like we have their day off here in Boston right now, but we're
Okay.
we're kind of beat down, it's like
Mm-hmm.
we're not exactly 20 anymore, and when you have a day off on tour, man, sometimes you just want to like go get a decent meal somewhere, relax, maybe not talk to anybody, like, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about, there's no underlying thing here. I love to do interviews and everything else. So, I mean, I'm talking about within the van. So you have
Mm-hmm.
the same guys in the van all day, every day. You're on stage together all the time. Sometimes you need a little break, or maybe they need a break from me, actually. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes on a day off, you just like to, like I said, get it like a nice little meal to yourself and maybe even go to the movies
Yep.
alone. It's kind of cool. It's like a little therapeutic, and it's take the days off pretty chill, just to rest
Mm-hmm.
the body, so you can give it 100% at the next show and stuff. And it's also good, like, even for Dave, for his voice, even me for
Mm-hmm.
my voice, doing backups, yelling all the day, like, 5 days a week you're yelling for like an hour and a half.
Yep.
So it's good to just shut the fuck up and like rest. But the other part of it too is I gotta say, like, Boston's great. We had great history here coming to the Rat back in the day. We weren't around early enough to do the channel, but we played at the Rat like it was our CBGB's away from home.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark from the Unseen had a lot to do with that scene back then. He really helped. Honestly, I feel like he was the one putting on shows, and he's the one who single-handedly, with the Unseen, built that scene in Boston at that time. It certainly was them. You got to give them credit for it. And they had us up all the time, and they were they were like the pinnacle of the Boston scene getting big, and it was really a lot to do with Mark and organizing shows. And I'll always say that. I'll always give him the respect to that. And he's a great guy too. I mean, we love all those guys. But there were so many cool bands back then too, and so it's nice to see Boston. And then the Middle East, you can't argue with that place. It's so cool. It's just like a classic. And then
Mm-hmm.
the next day we're going to go down and have a day off in New York. And I mean, that's just like, I kind of what's fun for me is taking someone in the crew around to places in New York like they've never been, maybe. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, I'll take you to Chelsea Hotel. I'll take you to, these cool like little punk sites, where you're just like, oh, then we'll go over here for some food or something. It's just kind of like nice to have a day just to walk around New York. And of course, a lot's changed, dude. I mean, we all kind of had to get pushed out of there because if you're not making like, you know, $4,000, $5,000 a month, dude. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you could really even live there anymore. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So we but it's still rad to go there and just like have a day or two there, and kind of be like, oh, I used to hang out here all the time, and that kind of stuff. But it's like a different city now. There is no more CBGBs, there is no more
Yep.
Coney Island High, there's no more Knitting Factory, the list goes on. And so how can it really be? It's, if any of the scene is left, it's mainly in Brooklyn these days. I
Okay.
mean, it was always in Brooklyn, but it's more so now because I don't think there's any punks left in Manhattan. I got to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then it looks like you're gonna spend 2, 3 months or longer in Europe. What are you looking forward to for Europe? The Europe tour, is that
Yeah. Well,
is there?
Europe is
Yeah.
so cool. We
Go.
have about 3 months there, and a lot of it's not a lot, but I would say more than half is festivals, and those are always cool because you know why? You get to go in there. They always, I mean, Europe hands down treats you a lot better than the US. US is getting better, starting to get better with places like the Space Ballroom in Connecticut and things like that, where they're starting to feel like, they're starting to take care of bands a little bit better,
Mhm.
and they're one of the prime examples. Backstage is great. There's a washer and dryer. The signs are up. Hey, touring's hard. Ask if you need anything. That's great. I love that. But Europe is like, when you go to Europe, it's like every gig is like they take care of you with the food. They're very hospitable, and it's just like, and if you have some simple respect, they give you respect back, and it's great. And the thing is, when we play those festivals over there, you get to play with so many cool bands that
Mhm.
you might not normally get to see or play with. So we're excited to, like, one day I get to see the Exploited, the next day I get to see Anti No League, the next day I get to see, like, Sick of It All or something. It's like all these a huge variety of bands that you're on these festivals with. Now you're usually like kind of beaten down because you've driven all day and you get to rock out. But hopefully, if you can squeeze some music in, that's really like a cool attribute about it. And the festivals over there are just like, sometimes you're in a castle, or the castle grounds,
Yeah.
all this cool stuff. like punk rock holiday in Slovenia. Like you're like there's this river coming through on the side of the festival, and you can go swimming in there and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah,
Sounds cool. Well,
yeah,
you have a new album out, first album in 8 years. Detonate. It
yeah,
came out March 27th on Hellcat.
yeah,
And this is your second album with your David Rodriguez on vocals, and I believe it's your first album on Hellcat. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, this album kind of has a, when I checked it out, has an overall theme of like unity and like systemic change. You talk about obviously politics, and you wrote about, about the just the world right now with the mass shootings, the bombings, the deportation, everything. There's a few tunes that I thought were a tiny bit mellower, and then
Sure.
you also kind of continued with multiple languages. You got your English, Spanish, and then you even threw in some Portuguese. Uh, what do you want people to know about the new album?
It's just that we the casualties pull from a lot of different influences, and from the
Mm-hmm.
early days it was like a lot more oi and street punk, and through the years you get into a little more thrash. So there's definitely a variety on there. Overall pretty heavy record, but you have like stuff like Streets of Hatred, but then you have like Few the True, so we'll always have our sing-alongs and our gang vocal like participation, like come on up on stage and yell with us, so it's one of those things where I think it remains. What would I want people to know? I would want them to know that I think if you're a Casualties fan, this is not going to let you down, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's probably one of the better ones we've done in a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
and having it be Dave's sophomore album, I couldn't be more happy about this record. It was when people ask, I kind of say like, this was a slow bake. We took our time
Mm-hmm.
with it. I wrote riffs over the last like 7 years, um, that I just kept in my phone. This is one of the beauties of having a phone, and you
Mm-hmm.
just record. I was recording riffs, pulling influence from all these different places I would go. If I would see something inspirational, like I would kind of take like kind of a moment and maybe write like one lyric or one sentence or a few words about it and how it made me feel, and try to incorporate that into the album. And then I would kind of pitch that to Dave, and Dave would take it. And even Meggers and Dave wrote their own two songs on this.
Mm-hmm.
Meggers wrote Detonate, and Dave wrote uh, Allies and Assassins. So it's like, and when
Okay.
we did this record, right, we weren't looking at current events. We were just singing about how we felt. And all of a sudden, these things were happening that were making the record even more relevant than we felt it was. So it was almost like, whoa, like some current events happened that made it even more like up to date, I would say. So
Okay.
we weren't
Yeah.
really trying to piggyback off anything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. If we wouldn't mind, we could. I'd like to maybe break down a few of the tracks that were some of my favorites. And I know
sure.
you didn't write. You said you didn't write Detonate and Allies and Assassins, but those are two I wrote down. A Detonate being the title track.
Yeah,
And the lyrics, or tried it all, can't relate, pull the fucking trigger, it's time to detonate. I don't think you're saying like it's time to destroy yourself or give it up. You kind of saying from what I interpreted is like it's time to like blow shit up. You've tried it, and now it's time to go. Time to be explosive. Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
it?
Yeah, and Meggers, he kind of just one of the things that he said that stuck out to me when he was talking about the song. He felt that like we're not meant to be overloaded with negativity to the point that we are right now in history. Like if you go back to when you and I would have been a lot younger, it was like yeah, some shitty news, but it wasn't like you're going through your algorithm on Instagram or whatever, pick your favorite social media, right? And it's just like all the bad shit that's happening around the world, and it can piss you off, and it's just overwhelming, and you feel helpless, like you want to fix everything,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want human suffering, or and all kinds of the suffering of the world, and just the greed and all. So when you're hit with all that stuff, it can make you just want to detonate, then.
Mm-hmm.
And no, the message is not it is not suicidal at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's just a kind of, a feeling. You know what I mean? I want to detonate,
Yep. Yep.
because you're just sick of everything. And it's just like, God, can't people just, not, are we made to suffer? Or is it just why people want to do those things
Yeah.
to, out
Yeah.
of greed and just like all that kind of stuff, where it can bottle you up, for
Yeah.
sure.
And Allies and Assassins is to me is like a call to action protest song, kind of a like a this is a free country, but we're really not free to be who we want to be. Is you want to
Yeah.
speak more on
Yeah.
that? Is that?
Totally.
Yeah.
That's precisely
Yeah.
the connotation of the song. Like, I mean, like,
Mm.
you really just what we have to remember is that if we let those in power just have their way, we won't be free. And there's already things that have shown us that they don't. The powers that be will not want you to be free, and just like all these things that even the current administration, the administration before that, and the one before that, just create rules
Mm-hmm.
upon rules upon rules. Yet they're not governed or lawed by their own laws that they
Mm-hmm.
create. That's another thing we're seeing right now. I feel like it's it's a law for us, and there's a law for them, which
Mm-hmm.
which really isn't any kind
Mm-hmm.
of a law, because they have enough money to make anything disappear
Yeah.
without getting into all that island stuff. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think that it's what we have to remember is it is American to revolt.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that somewhere along the way the patriots have kind of missed, and it isn't always agreeing with authority, especially if you're an American. You know, so
Yeah. Uh, Eye for an Eye. That one, by the bass line on that one is just awesome. It just rips. That's kind of to me like a anti-ice kind of anthem song. The lyrics aren't super complex, but it's musically just that song is a great track. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and the funny thing was that was the first song we wrote on the record.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, oddly
Um,
enough, that was the one that we first started playing. And and Zach from Rise Against, he helped produce a lot of this, where we brought the songs into him, and he helped us like kind of reshape some things, and take the songs to another level.
and the other one I put down was Few the True. That one was one I was it wasn't quite as hard, but and as fast, but it's a great unity song, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Sometimes it
yeah,
doesn't have to go 100 miles an hour, right?
yeah.
Like
But
We Are All We Have, an Unknown Soldier. It was more of one of those.
yeah, but it was one of my like I said noted it was one of my favorite tracks. So
Oh,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to expand any more on that song, or should we?
Yeah, I think that was well, that was something that I had kind of, when I was in Burbank, I was
Mm,
demoing stuff with Riff, the guy who recorded the album, Riff Audio.
mm,
And I just had this like feeling, I was at this there was a cemetery, not Hollywood Forever, but there's a cemetery in sort of near Burbank, and it's on top of this mountain, not, well, more of like a hill, but a big
mhm,
hill, right? And it had this big like painting of cavalry inside, and not horses, but like it was like where Jesus Christ was being like crucified, and
mhm.
there's this huge, and not getting religious, I'm saying, but it was this huge painting, and then you go outside into the cemetery, and it was really just like everything had like this kind of awe about it, and it kind of felt like I was thinking about stuff, and I started thinking into shows, going back to the human interaction. We're arm in arm, like united, and there's a moment of where it's like bliss, and life can be like just great, and then in a flash of an eye, it can also be gone. So I kind of was like, we are the few, we are the true, and very few people in life kind of get to have these experiences. And so I felt like that really worked. Like sometimes you look around at a punk show, there might be 20 people there,
Mm-hmm.
but you're the few, the true,
Mm-hmm.
and you're at the punk rock show, and you're like looking around, like the people here really want to be here, and their hearts are here, and maybe one or two just like stumbled in, but the people that show up to shows sometimes really want to be there. So that kind of made me like think about like life is short. We are
Mm-hmm.
the few, we are the true. Relish in that and enjoy that part of life.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned the album was co-produced by Riff, Raul Sculer, if I'm not butchering his
Yeah.
name, and
Yep.
Zach Blair, who's from Rise Against, Only Crime, and Hagfish, and then Riff, who's worked with like NoFX, Suicidal Tendencies, Interrupters, Circle Jerks. You recorded the album there at Riff Audio. Is that where the album was
Yeah. Yeah.
recorded? Yeah.
Yep. We did all the guitars there. We did the bass there. And then drums were done at the boat, and most of the
Okay.
I think all of the lead vocals were done at the boat too,
Okay.
which is like a legendary studio
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Kim Armstrong from Rancid owns.
Yeah.
And we did that there, so it was like kind of half and half, and then we did backing vocals at Riff's place, and this was by his design, so it worked out really cool.
Okay. Is that the first time you've worked with those guys?
Yeah, and
All right.
well, I gotta tell you, I would do it again. And since we signed for 2 albums, I think we will
All
do it
right.
again.
What was the process like?
It was
Recording with them.
wonderful. Like really, we got we got an Airbnb in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
And Burbank's kind of like chill.
Mm-hmm.
And you can walk around. There's plenty to do, but like it was close to the studio. So when it came time to work, it was like fun. It was like I mean, it was work, but it was like good work. And we had a lot of focus days and very few bad days out of the month that we were there. There wasn't very many bad days. Dave had a little family emergency that he had to run back home to, but he was able to finish up all his lead vocals before that happened. So I want to say like 99% of this thing was just like positive and great. And we hadn't recorded in so long, so it
Mm-hmm.
was like
Mm-hmm.
refreshing. And it's fun to get in there. You're the whole time, even if it's frustrating. What you have to remember is that you're even with you right now doing your podcast. It might be a little annoying. You take a little time out of your day, but it's one of those things. You're making history,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you have that in mind, um, it's it's great, worth every second.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that you thought this was maybe one of your best albums. Is this where would you rank this album if you could?
I would put it up there in the
Yeah.
top of what we've done. Of you know, it'd be For the
Uh,
Punks, the first one, because
uh-huh.
that's always that's no matter where you slice it, it's always a great star album for the band, and then this one.
Mm-hmm.
Now Meggers might tell you those are my top three. You know, no shade at the other ones. How could I? I'm in the band, so I gotta say all good things.
And you said you three kind of just been working on writing the songs over like the last 6 years, and you just come together then. And how does that writing process work when you come together and you go to put the finishing touches on it?
It's been about 7.
Uh-huh.
I, I like I said before, I kind of just will record riffs all the time, like oh that or something like that. So when I get enough, an intro, a verse, chorus kind of thing, maybe a middle part, then I have something to go to the guys with. Even better if I can have like a chorus idea, or some phrasing. So I'll do that. Then I bring that to the table, and they'll sort of start putting their things to it, and we'll decide if a song makes it or not. There was about 5 to 6 songs that didn't make it. Because we felt like, well, we want everything on this record to be something that everybody's happy with, and the songs that made it to the album are the ones that um were done and didn't need any work. The ones that didn't make it to the album, 2 were really good. But we didn't want the album to be too long, so those will come out later on a comp or a single or something.
Okay.
But we then there's about 4 that didn't make it all together to even be recorded, that we'll have to bring back to the drawing table and see if we can take them from like a B to an A.
How have you've been playing the songs? I assume playing a bunch of them live. How's the live shows been going? How's the crowd reaction to the new songs?
Great, and the thing is really good with Power Over People and Detonate, and then Pigs on Fire has been going good because we already did that the last tour. We did that like for 10 shows before the record even came out. And so I'm seeing people, the later the tour goes, I'm seeing more and more people involved on the new songs because the record is circulating, and it really is getting like a lot of good attention and stuff. So but it takes time, for people to, not everybody gets the record in the first week it comes out. People get it later on, it's still brand new. So, you're going to have this thing where it takes about a year to get everybody on board. Most people right away, but like you could see in like just yesterday's show compared to the first show in Austin, I saw way more people singing along. So it's like anything. It just takes a little time. Not everybody's going to know the whole record the first week.
Yeah. Well, if anyone hasn't listened to it, you should. It's the whole record's killer. It's great. I mean, I listened to it to do what our little called drive-by reviews, just quick little reviews, and I was like, this is a great album, and I was like, I want to get him on the podcast, talk to him about it because it's really good. So,
oh man, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thank you for that, because I know you've been patient with us because we've been on tour, so we had to postpone the one time. Not what we meant to. You get pulled in a lot of directions sometimes.
Yeah, no worries. We got a few more minutes left. Is there anything new you want to share about anything with Charged Records? Anything else?
Oh well, Charged is another little labor of love that I do, and I just try to give street punk bands a little opportunity to still put out stuff by them, and that's just kind of like a cool side thing I do just because I love punk rock, and sometimes you do things that they don't exactly make money, and any money they do make, you just pump it right back into it, so. And I love records. I'm a vinyl head. I'm a vinyl nerd. So it's like I just hoard record, any kind of punk or metal record. I just hoard them anyway. So it's kind of fun to produce them as well.
Yeah.
So
is there anything new with that coming out?
Yeah, we're going to be doing a Funeral Dress record and possibly a Dick Spikey record from Japan, and they're both older bands with killer new material, and so we're gonna do those, and and in the meantime, maybe some represses, and I always like to find like the new younger bands as well,
Yeah.
So. But it's like anything, man. Records are expensive to make, so it's like you pick two for you pick anywhere from 2 to 4 releases for half of the year, But I think it's realistic to do about 2 releases per quarter,
Yeah. Well,
So.
we're just about out of time, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your one day off on your tour and enjoying us today. And if anyone is listening to this, you should go check out the show and definitely check out the album. And again, appreciate it very much, and wish you the best with the rest of the tour, and safe travels.
Thank you very much, and please tag us so we can also put it on our Instagram and get some traffic
Yeah.
going your way.
Yeah. Have a good one, man. Thanks.
You too, buddy. Bye now.